Hey guys, I made a post on YouTube about 3 days ago asking any questions you guys might have and ask them to me, and I'll answer to you in this video. So here I am, giving you my answers. Here we go. The first question was from Kurt M. Which platform do you think Nexon values more, reboot or regular server, aka pay to win? What I think is that the average player on non-reboot probably brings in way more money than the average player on reboot does because of the non-pay to win nature. What will they value more? It's an overall financial thing, right? So since the average player brings in more, but there's way fewer players, it's probably about equal, I would think, at this point. MapleStory.gg says that it's about 68% of the population right now is playing on reboot servers in GMS and 32% on non-reboot servers. It's very different from in Korea, of course. We did see some stuff in Korea where they seem to kind of want to push players towards non-reboot or give quite a lot of extra stuff to non-reboot, not just for money, but stuff like the Burning World, right? So there's always going to be incentives to try to get people into the servers, into the platform that you call it here, where they will make more money per person. But as long as the money comes in, I'm not sure if they really care all that much where it comes from. I'm great at this. It's the first time I'm using this option. Second question. Solo progression advice, specifically if it's worth going up to 21 and 22 Abzo even after you're strong enough to solo normal Lucid, considering without hard boss drops it takes about 5 months to get full Arcane. Yeah, you need a lot of boss clears for sure. Solo progression advice. If you're going to be soloing, yeah, I don't know about 21 or 22 Abzo. I think 20 Abzo is where the sweet spot is. It's still very strong, and you can 21 on fodder very easily and transfer over into 20 Abzo. 20 Abzo should be plenty. I don't know about risking a 20 to 21 or even to 22. I think that's unnecessary risk and will not make you as much stronger as you want to, and will be on average way more expensive. But that's probably what you want to do to make the jump into hard loose and hard will rather than just farm it all out on normal. Yeah, that'll take too long. Our next question here is from Melvin Cruz. How many new classes will come to MapleStory, and how long do you think the game will last before a new game like it comes along and kills it? Well, first of all, new class. I think we are turning 20 years old this year. Jesus, it's been that long. And we have the 50th class coming out. I mean, for GMS, for the KMS is going to be, I believe, the 46th. I think so. Keep track. Hayato, Jet, Kana, Beast Tamer. Yeah, so 46. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see about one a year come out. I don't think they want to do the whole thing anymore where they rework like 15 classes in one update. So they'll probably just keep bringing out one a year and keep up to date with the balancing on all the other ones so they don't have to do major revamps and they can keep dedicating those new releases. Second part of your question, I think many games have come and tried and we're still here. As long as people keep logging in and keep playing MapleStory, it's going to keep being alive. That and I don't know if there's that much money in MMOs unless you're a giant company. I could see the Riot MMO maybe putting a major dent in any other MMO that will include MapleStory. We did see Lost Ark take quite a few people away from MapleStory, but we're still posting pretty good numbers in the overall life cycle of MapleStory. So I don't know if anything can really kill it unless people just stop being addicted. But that's never going to happen, I don't think, right? Because it's the same people who are still playing. They just keep coming back. Next question from Mayo Hamsters Mayo. Okay. What are some tips that you know that people don't like? You can put notes down. Oh, that people just don't know? Like you put notes on a key instead of double clicking them? Yes, hold down the button. It'll just open really quickly. I clicked every one of them up until like 3 months ago, and Monster Park tickets for... wait, where's the rest of the comment? Oh, I can't see it here. Hang on. For Mezzos. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll mention things just in passing, and there's always going to be someone in my chat who's like, wait, I've never known this before. It's really difficult at a certain point to know if something... A lot of things I just take for granted after a while, right? And I'll speak them out loud, and people will pick them up if you're watching my stream, so always watch my stream, right? That way you could always pick up these little nuggets of wisdom. I did make a list at some point. I found it here to answer your question. I had a list that I started making of things to put into like little maybe like a little YouTube shorts or something. Like, hey, here's like 3 tips when you're playing MapleStory or something. I'll rattle these off real quick. Let's see. Put an NPC chat on Y. Right, it triggers the yes option. So if you do that, you can blow through the conversations and the lore in the game super quickly. Traveling through the dimensional mirror, that's not as useful anymore because of the Maple Guide. Talk to Adobis, yeah, that's also traveling. Item incinerator in Genesis, so that you can get rid of NX items that you don't want anymore. Traveling to Commercy, that's also in the guide now. Exiting the arc fight, I don't think that exists anymore. Oh, you can stack your penance slot duration. A lot of people think you just either unlock the penance slot and you wait for it to expire. But what you can do is you can just basically, you're not unlocking the penance slot, but you're extending the duration of the penance slot. Even with the first coupon, you're just bringing it from 0, right? So you can just buy like 20 penance slot in the shop and just slam them all at once and extend your penance slot for a year and 8 months. I don't know what that was my example, but that's what I'm going to go with. The logging in thing. Oh, if you guys saw the shorts on YouTube, that thing's gone as well. Yeah, so some of these things have no longer been no longer useful. You can teleport on the bottom of Hard Mudo by swimming into the water. If you're on the left side, you could teleport to the bottom left. If you're on the right side, to the bottom right. I added that to my choo-choo command as well. Oh, there's a lot of things in here. Yeah, Soul Book, but that's not very that's very useful. There's a list of that. If you guys want, leave a comment if you want that. But I might start adding more shorts to the channel and just do like a little small tips of like 2 or 3 things that you might not know, with just like very quick picture and very quick infograph on where to get it. If you're interested in that, let me know. The next question is from Chung Tak. Is there any gear progression advice I can follow? So I've talked about this a lot during my stream. I like to not be too rigid with that. I don't like guides that are just like, go here, get that. Go there, get that. Go here, upgrade this many stars, this, exactly that. I don't like that rigidness because I feel like it takes away a lot of creativity and a lot of enjoyment it would for me from the game, where you're basically just, your entire game is just a giant checklist and you're just checklisting the whole way through, and eventually what you've done is you just completed a checklist. I don't feel like you've really played a game. That's just my personal interpretation though of like video games and enjoyment in games. What I have though is the progression command, very important, and the dailies command. If you follow these roughly or use those as a guide on like where to go and what are your benchmarks to knowing are you strong enough or not and what kind of content can you do around your level, you will bypass all of the important equips and you'll never bypass anything that is important. So it's all included in there. It's just not expressly in a list made. This way also I can keep up with changes better. If you make like a giant gear progression guide, it's a lot of work and things are constantly changing, so you constantly have to make updates and everything, and it's not feasible. And also the first thing I said, I don't think it's not content I want to make, and I think it stifles creativity. So yes and no. Then Vincent Paul asks, do you believe it is always super important to chase the legacy event items? I think it's a very personal thing. If you have to know yourself as a player. Do you know you're playing this game for the long term? Do you know that you're going to regret if you don't get it? Then either so if you know you're going to regret it, but you also don't want to do it, then maybe this game isn't for you because it has tons of legacy items and they just keep coming and keep getting replaced and then or never get replaced, and yeah, it's a pretty common occurrence. So either decide that you can be okay with not getting them or stop playing the game basically. But if you know that you're going to play long term and you know that you're going to regret that later, but you're okay with that feeling or with that situation, then I would go for them. Yeah, of course this question is specifically now with the legacy island totem. I know I'm going to be one of the people who opens all of the flames and gets absolutely nothing and like a horrible flame on my item when some other people have like 140 flame score running around. I already know that's going to be my reality. I wish there were an RNG, but that's just me. But yeah, they can definitely control kind of what you do in the moment or during the events and then how you feel about it later. On that note though, like don't feel too bad about, if you have an item or like, item on a character, right? Like you have a character with a ghost ship exorcist badge or something. Don't feel like you have to main that character overall in the entire duration and all of the sources of damage you have on your character. It's not gonna make any difference whatsoever. Like, well, okay, sorry. It's gonna make a difference, but it's not gonna make any noticeable difference on your eventual damage output. So don't let that control which character you should make. Always make and play the character that you are going to enjoy the most. Do you have a simple gear guide for players making boss mules and don't do Abzo carries? Gear flames pot guide would be appreciated. Yeah, so if you're going to be including Lotus and Damien in your run and maybe Slime, then basically look at the progression grid and look at the early. No, I need to say this correctly. But basically look at the end of mid game, and if you're just going to do say like HMAG and everything below, then look at the early stages of mid game. But again, no specifics on all of the stuff, just general guidelines, and however you fill those in, that's up to you, right? Whichever gears you have access to, whichever gears you want to get, as long as you somehow somewhat meet the criteria, then you're good. Doesn't matter exactly where you get them, so don't worry too much about that. Then V2 asks, do you believe increasing a level cap past 300 is a good idea for the future of MapleStory? Personally, I feel like adding newer content to the game without increasing level progression would be better, but what are your thoughts? Yeah, this is more like a philosophical, me just being like an old person thing. I don't like just adding more levels and everything just has bigger number, because it just literally detracts value of those earlier levels. The first 200... At this point, because of Hyperburn, almost 250 levels don't really mean anything. It's really only the last 50 levels that mean something. So what you could also do is you could just start a character at level 1, and you only level from 1 through 50, and you immediately have, like other games, I think people have called this like a level crunch or something. We kind of compact stuff again. It's gonna feel weird. And for a lot of people, especially if you're used to if you guys are familiar with the concept of a Skinner box, a lot of mobile games do this, right? Where you're pressing a lot of buttons. They know that people want to feel progression and they want to feel like they are achieving a lot in a little bit of time, right? So they make those early levels go really, really fast. So you get all of those little dopamine hits. This goes more to what I feel is borderline unethical in like game design and stuff. And to try to get people addicted and look at how much I've gained, then you get invested and you're like, oh, I don't want to leave this character behind because look at how far I've come. My damage can go from like 10 damage to like 1 million damage in one day, and then it can go from 1 million to like 100 million in another week. And look at how big the numbers are. For me, I care more about like the quality there than the quantity. That's going to be like a recurring theme with most of my stuff. And we might have gone past the point of return at this point where the level is so high, and it would be too huge of a departure if they really did something so drastic as a crunch. But we'll see. I mean, level 300 will still be a while until someone gets it. And by that, I mean non-reboot GMS will get it pretty... not pretty soon. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. But like the first, right? Because of Frenzy Totems. And they will be stuck there until KMS gets there, which will be a lot later, months, if not a year or more, probably a year or more after that. So until then, they'll just be super stuck and have no content of 300 plus. There hopefully will be endgame content coming out. But I hope they do something else for it, but I don't have high hopes for that, basically. Then we have Petri Nax asking, what content should I do if I'm getting bored of regular progression? How can I make dailies and grinding feel less tedious? What goals can I make for my account that aren't necessarily progression based that might help with overall enjoyment of the game? Also, how should we prepare for the upcoming events? Maple Relay, Yeti Penguin, Maple. That's a lot of questions in one. Okay. I will say if you really, if you want to look at like upcoming events, I would always read the patch notes over at Orange Mushroom, or watch Steve's video. Steve does a lot of stuff about that. Or you watch my video going over the Orange Mushroom content. I try to put it into context, but of course, I can only speculate so much with the stuff that's coming out. When the actual patch notes come out for GMS, I always try to go over them and try to come up with a plan for people who are in different stages of the game. yeah, if you're bored of regular progression, to find something in the game that you like. Like some people just want to get monster collection maxed out. Some people are trying to get all the familiars. Some people just like doing Oz and they like getting Oz rings. It's just like they like getting good ranks on Oz, for example, like a good time. Some people like doing dojo. Eventually, I think it's a video game. The goal, I think, should be to have fun. So if you enjoy something in the game that maybe isn't something that everyone else is doing or is telling you to do, but it's enjoyable to you and it makes you want to log in and want to play the game, then do that. Um, it, as a rule of thumb, like if logging into the game feels like you're starting a list of chores, or you're like dreading the login, you're not looking forward to logging in, but you're logging in because you are looking up to missing out on stuff. That's not a good long term motivation. That's just going to eventually just burn you out. So just try to do completely other stuff that you usually don't do. Maybe just hang out with your guild. Maybe try some bosses you've never done before and just get into a voice chat on Discord and just get absolutely rolled. Like struggle parties can be some of the biggest fun out there, even though they don't directly give you progress in the moment. It can be a really good experience. So just try a bunch of stuff that you think you might like. Some people are collectors, etc. Find your own story. The next question from Kyle. The 30k barrier when referring to your main stat, how to overcome it and how to set yourself up so you avoid it. I don't think there's avoiding it. The main reason it happens is because people tend to push their potential decently far. What I mean by that is that everything goes legendary, right? 2 lines, sometimes a little bit more. And everything gets pushed up to 17 stars because of, don't want to boom. And basically, that's how you get the 30k. And you get past 30k by realizing that booming your equips isn't that bad, because the gains from Starforce are insane. And the only reason why booming your equips isn't bad is because you have backups. But how can you get backups? By killing the bosses for a long time. How do you do that? By being 30k stat for a while so that you can kill those bosses. It's just a necessary thing. You can make that transition way smoother by overcompensating with other stuff, right? And if you check exclamation mark progression, you can see that stat is a very important metric in seeing how strong you are. But there's a ton of other metrics, right? So try to, once you get past that on your first character, you can try to bypass that by upgrading in other ways than just stat. And there are going to be other systems that you can upgrade on so that you are essentially a 30k stat, but you won't functionally be a 30k stat. You'll be a lot stronger because maybe your legion is bigger, you have a lot more nodes, etc. Right? So it's more like a mental thing to be like stuck on the 30k. I think it's good to have events that you can look forward to make big gains. You can see it as a negative and a positive, right? You can feel like railroaded that you have to wait for big events so that you can take your backups and take all your money, smash them together, hopefully make some Star Force gains. Don't get too focused on just waiting for Shining Star Force, because it is only every 6 months and it's probably too infrequent for updates. For upgrades for most people. So, 5, 10, 15s, especially, if you're past 15 stars, as long as you have backups and you have money, just go for it. Don't be too scared to blow up your equips once you have backups. Use the Star Force calculator, look at the average costs, look at the average chances for booms, and then decide for yourself how risk averse are you, and go for it. Because just sitting on your, on your 17-star stuff, perfecting the potential, it's going to be a very big detour to your eventual thing that you want to get to. So that's usually how you get past 30k stuff. Then we have Nicolas Ladouceur. Wow, beautiful. When you are doing a new boss mule, is it worth going past level 40 boost nodes? I'm currently getting them all to 40 to go up to Lotus Damien, especially now that totems are gone and nodes are rarer. And this calls back to the previous question, basically. Again, node levels, very important, but only one of the metrics of how strong is your character. Typically, what I do is, if I'm going to do Lotus and Damien, I probably open up a total of like 300-400 nodes, and then I just level up my stuff, and then I see how strong my character is. Got a big legion, I've got big links, right? WSE to legendary, at least 2 useful lines, that kind of stuff. Some people go for superior Golics. Reinforced Golics, I think, is very, very valuable as well. And then some people get carried or, work their way up into Absolab. Once you're somewhat settled in the equips and level of funding that you are comfortable with, always just start on the lower end and then just do the bosses and do them in like in a full session. Get guild skills, right? Those are huge that early on as well. Do 1 guild skill, maybe 2 guild skills, whatever you're comfortable with, and just see how long it takes to do those bosses. If this is an amount of time that you're okay with and that you're willing to spend and this feels okay, then just don't spend any more resources. You can always spend more resources later, but the sooner you can start capitalizing on the character and the sooner you can start earning back the investment, right? You can always overinvest, but the further you get, the lower the value of the extra investment, how much further you go. I wouldn't just go 40 because 40 gives you that IED. I would look at trying to get, 2 15% ID familiars instead. That give you 15, so that's like 27% IED across the board, right? That's more valuable than having a level 40 boost nodes exactly 40. Most of my bossing mules will have boost nodes around level, I don't know, probably level 20 to maybe like somewhere 20 to high 20s probably. I have side characters though. Those have like max stuff, but that's just because they were side characters, not specifically made as boss mules. All right, next question here is from Blitzkrieg. Comprehensive in-depth arc guide. I have it as a bossing mule, and I hate it because I don't understand it. Sorry, and I feel it's very weak. I think I'm not comboing bursting properly. The comboing is not necessary for bursting. And it can be annoying, but it does increase your damage if you feel comfortable with it. So the higher your ping is and the higher your attack speed are, the more likely that your comboing goes poorly and that you start dashing all around the map actually gets you killed. It can be pretty high risk for decently low reward depending on what your ping and your mechanical skill is and your timing and everything, right? But yeah, I feel very uncomfortable giving like in-depth guides to a specific class, even if I've played it for years, because I still feel there's so much I have to learn about everything about this game because it's just endless. I could do like a baseline, like beginner kind of guide on just maybe that could be as short as well as like 5 quick tips for ARC players, 5 quick tips for Demon Avenger players or something like that. But I don't know if I want to make like full-fledged guides because there's always just so much and new stuff that keeps getting discovered. And I guess my main thing is with how can I really make a guide if I don't feel comfortable with like my level of mechanical skill with the class, and if I know that there's definitely a bunch of stuff that I don't know. I'd have to do so much research for it, and then when I finally actually present it, there's always going to be something that I'm missing. It'll never be complete. So I'd rather like stay in my lane and just be like, hey, if you're very new to the class, this is how you can do some of the stuff. And then for additional information, which I will give for this as well, for additional information, make sure you check the Discord. You can join my Discord, and there's links in there for all of the class Discords, and you can tune in there and then ask for specific questions on stuff. For bursting, I can specifically say, in general, you always want to pop your attacking buffs first, from longest in duration to shortest duration, and then when everything is popped, then bind, and then start with your bursting damaging skills. As long as you don't have a roar, which you probably won't as a bossing mule, the order of the skills doesn't really matter as much. You should be able to pop it all like during the bind. But yeah, like the Abyssal Recall, you want to press and then press again so it detonates, right? The beast, so typically you put the beast down first, because then you put the other stuff that you use after that will automatically trigger the beast. So put down the beast, and some people like to do, I think it's called Endless Agony, names. Do Endless Agony, or do Abyssal Recall, and then tap it again immediately for the explosion, and Endless Agony right after. And I like to use, especially if you get more proficient with the class and you don't really need your iframes, tap your Creeping Terror, which is a huge damaging skill as well, third job skill. Just tap it once lightly and it'll pop a bunch of damage. Then that's that. As for the comboing, what I found is the easy skill to combo with is your Unstoppable Impulse, or whatever the name is in the other version. But basically you just tap that really quickly. As long as you tap one skill and you're able to stay in place and not dash around, it means you have a stack of Battle Frenzy. I think that's what it's called. And then that means that the next skill should be a little bit easier to combo, and then once you have 3-4 stacks of Battle Frenzy, then it'll be pretty easy to just always be comboing. But you have to like mash a skill and just press it very quickly and press it multiple times in the hopes that it goes off properly and that you can perform your ultimate combo burst. Yeah, good luck. when in doubt, do it facing the wall so that if you do dash, there's minimal damage, so you can do some damage control. I learned that in Black Mage when I was trying to float. Every single time there was possible death, the float would not go off properly and I would die. And every time, there was no danger whatsoever, the float would fail and would just flash jump me right into all the death. So, hopefully that gives you a little bit of a start. But again, if you guys are interested in like just some quick tips, base techniques for any class, maybe all the classes, I don't know, that'll be another 50 videos, maybe also in shorts form. Let me know if that's something you guys are interested in seeing. And then the last question we have in this list here from Mike Saint-Germain is, do you ever plan on streaming other games? I do stream other games from time to time, but it is rare, especially with the amount of total time that I do stream. Right now, the one side game that we're kind of streaming every now and then in after hours is Tactics Reborn. Is Tactics Ogre Reborn, sorry. One of the sequels of the Tactics Ogre Knight of Lotus on the Game Boy Advance that I used to play a long time ago. Love the game, love the series. It's got some hits and some misses, but overall it's pretty nostalgic, I should say for me, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. But as since I basically stream Maple Story all the time and only that, it's kind of a stream killer in a sense, especially now with like the 16,000 subathons going on. So a lot of people want to be part of that hype for reasons I personally can't understand because I'm just a boomer. And yeah, it'll be on the side. It's definitely something I've thought about, but at this stage, I don't have any actual plans for like a specific game. But I do plan to stick with Tactics Ogre Reborn and finish the game and play it all on stream. So if you're interested in seeing that, make sure you tune in. So those are all the questions that got sent to me. If you guys have any additional questions, I'll post one of these every once in a while. By that I mean post one of those questions, so you can just just ask me any question back, and then I'll answer them in this format. But yeah, the things we talked about, if you guys have any feedback or you just want to share whatever the hell you want to share, I'll read all your comments later, and I'll thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.